Today, we're digging into the Carolina Lithium Project. Now, this was supposed to be a massive cornerstone for the U.S. electric vehicle supply chain, but as of right now, it's completely stalled out. So what on earth is going on?
And that's the central puzzle, isn't it? How can a project get a huge green light from the state government, but still be totally unable to break ground? Well, the answer, it turns out, is in this really fascinating conflict between different levels of government. And here it is, laid out plain and simple. On one side, you've got the state of North Carolina, which gave them the mining permit. But on the other, you have Gaston County, the local authority, which is completely blocking the project by refusing to approve the zoning. It's literally a case of the state saying go, while the county says no way. Okay, so to really get what's happening now, we need to talk about the company at the heart of all this. You might remember the name Piedmont Lithium, but believe me, they are now part of a much, much bigger story. The project is now owned by a company called Elevra Lithium. This is a brand new entity that was formed back in late 2025 when Piedmont Lithium merged with an Australian miner, Sayona Mining. And you got to understand, this isn't just a simple name change. It signals a whole new strategy. So, what was the logic behind this big merger? Honestly, it was pretty smart. What they did was combined Piedmont's Carolina project, which is promising but not making any money yet, with Sayona's mine up in Quebec, which is already up and running and generating revenue. The result? A much more stable company that has both a long-term vision and immediate cash flow. All right, let's dive into the permitting mess, because this is where everything in North Carolina just grinds to a halt. This is where the real drama is.
Here's a really simple way to think about it. Getting that state mining permit, that's like being handed the keys to a brand new car. It's a huge deal. But the local zoning approval from the county, well, that's the key to the garage door. And it doesn't matter that you have the car keys if you can't even get the car out of the garage.
So when you actually break down the permits, the problem just jumps right off the page. The state mining permit? Approved. Check. Done. Back in 2024. The federal air permit? It's still pending. But that's not the real issue. The big one, local zoning, is completely blocked. That right there is the roadblock, the single biggest thing holding this entire project up.
And that really is the bottom line. Getting that state permit was a major milestone, for sure. But for any kind of construction, it is effectively useless until Gaston County signs off on the rezoning. Without that local green light, this project is completely dead in the water. So given this massive roadblock in North Carolina, what is the new company, Elevra, doing about it? Are they just sitting around and waiting? Absolutely not. They've completely shifted their strategy.
And if you're wondering why they shifted their focus, well, here are 66 million reasons why. In just a single quarter, their Canadian mine pulled in a record $66 million in revenue. Look, when you have an asset making that kind of money, it's really no surprise that it becomes your #1 priority.
So you end up with this really stark contrast. On one hand, you've got the Quebec mine. It's producing, it's making money, and it is the company's immediate focus. On the other hand, you have the Carolina project. It's paused. Now, it's not totally abandoned, but it's become a future option, not a right-now priority.
And this strategic shift just completely blew up the original timeline. That state permit in 2024 seemed like huge progress. But then came the merger in 2025, which totally moved the goalposts. Now, with all the focus on Canada, any potential production in Carolina gets pushed out to 2028 at the absolute earliest. And trust me, that's a very big if.
So where does all of this leave us? You know, if you're following this project, what's the one thing you should actually be looking for? What is the real signal that things are finally moving again?
First, let's be clear. The local opposition in Gaston County is intense. And these are real concerns from residents about noise, water quality, and traffic. And here's the crucial part. Even with all the talk about federal support for domestic mining, that support cannot force a local county to change its zoning laws. In this kind of fight, local power wins.
So it all comes down to this. After all the back and forth, what is the one true signal? What is the trigger that tells us this project is back on track and heading for a final decision?
This is it. This is the key. Forget the press releases, forget vague company promises. The only signal that truly matters is the moment an official rezoning application from Elevra Lithium appears on the public agenda for the Gaston County Board of Commissioners. That is when the real showdown will finally begin. Until then, everything else is just noise. And this whole saga leaves us with a much, much bigger question, doesn't it? The Carolina Lithium Project is a perfect case study. It pits these huge national strategic goals for energy independence against the very real concerns of a local community. And it really makes you wonder, how often is this story going to repeat itself across the country? And will local politics ultimately be the defining factor in America's race to build a clean energy future?